Thank you for calling the ASMR Help Desk. How may I help you today? So today we're going to be doing something a little different, and I must give credit for ASMR Chess for giving me this idea. If you aren't familiar with ASMR Chess on YouTube, then I highly recommend you check him out. As is implied by the name, he focuses mostly on chess and analyzing different chess matches as well as playing chess games. But recently, he has started to do some Magic the Gathering content, which we here at the ASMR Help Desk also have a fondness for that game as well. Recently, he did a draft where he did the draft picks and explained them as he went. What we've decided to do here is open some packs from Zendikar Rising and talk about the cards and what we're excited about for this set. We plan on returning to our regular content, but we thought we could take a break from that. Jeez, we thought we could take a break from that and enjoy some Magic the Gathering content. So let's get started. So I'm going to click. I'm just going to open my first pack. And since this is my first pack of Zendikar Rising, all of these cards are new, though I did get a few as a reward just for being on Arena. And I like to build up the suspense, so I'm going to start with the cards here. We have Namana Skittersneak. It is a creature, human rogue. You pay 3 generic mana and 1 black to get a 3/4 creature, human rogue. As long as an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, Namana Skittersneak gets +1/+0 and has Menace. Menace is a creature that can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures when it attacks. The physical card has the flavor text of when navigating dangerous terrain, 100 legs are better than 2. For those of you who are unaware, Magic the Gathering cards, the physical, actual cards, have what is known as flavor text. The text that is here is rules text, but then it has text, sometimes it has text below that is italicized, and that is flavor text. And it is text spoken by a character or an adage or a saying or an excerpt from a history or a book. And it basically is just a way to add flavor to the world, to flesh out the world in a way. And on Arena, there really is no need to have flavor text on the cards due to the video game nature, but I do appreciate that they add it in this way, though I will say the formatting is a little off. The initial quotation mark there is a little big. Pressure Point. Pay 1 generic mana and 1 white mana to get an instant. Tap target creature, draw a card. An instant can be played at any time on your turn or your opponent's turn. This too has flavor text. Poke a drake in the right place and it becomes as docile as a pet. Poke it in the wrong place and goodbye hand. One of the things I love about flavor text is it is often very funny, sometimes silly. I especially enjoy it when flavor text is funny when it isn't meant to be. It's funny in an ironic way or in a, I guess, for lack of a better term, cringe-worthy way. Expedition Diviner. Pay 3 generic mana and 1 blue to get a 3/2 creature merfolk wizard, which has flying. As long as you control another wizard, Expedition Diviner has, when this creature dies, draw a card. Flying is an ability that means that the creature can only be blocked by other creatures with flying or creatures that have reach. The flavor text on this card, Wizard's Spell. Let me try that again. Wizard's spells twist the fabric of reality to channel elemental energies, peer into the future, and even calm the royal. Magic the Gathering is set on many different worlds. They are called planes, and this plane is called Zendikar. This is the third time that we, that Wizards of the Coast, the company that creates Magic the Gathering, has returned, and the fans, this is the third time I've been playing while we visited Zendikar. Zendikar is actually my favorite world or plane within Magic. I absolutely love it. I was a little disappointed with the last time we went there, but it is a fun place, and one of the areas of Zendikar is known as the Royal. R-O-I-L, I think that's how you pronounce it. Like boil, just with R. And I think that's kind of the feeling that they're trying to give you, is that it's like almost like the earth boils. It's the Royal. Anyway. Prowling Felidar. 3 generic mana and white to get a 2/3 creature cat beast with vigilance. It also has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Prowling Felidar. Vigilance means that when this creature attacks, you don't have to tap it. Tapping it is when you take the card and you turn it essentially sideways, or you turn it 90 degrees. In Arena, they only tilt it slightly. It's a bit of a nod to when Magic the Gathering was first played. Back then, tapping, you, at least the way I learned, and I've been playing since the game was created, because I'm old. When you would tap, you would only tilt it maybe about 45 degrees. But since then, it has become common to tilt it 90 degrees, so it's easy to tell when a card is tapped and when it's not. But Arena tilts them slightly because the game keeps track of all of that for you. But with Vigilance, and when you tap a creature to attack with it, that means that it can't block, it can't really do anything while it's tapped. There's a lot more to it, but that's the basic idea. Vigilance is actually very good. Now, Landfall is actually an ability that came with the original visit, the first time we visited Zendikar. And it was a very interesting mechanic because typically in Magic, if you would get a card in the late game, a land card in the late game, unless you really needed a land to cast a large spell or creature, it was a bit of a dead draw. It was a draw that you were kind of disappointed in getting late in the game. But that wasn't true in Zendikar, because if you got a land, you wanted to play it. You wanted to put it down because it would trigger abilities like this landfall here. And in this particular ability is actually pretty powerful, because if you get this creature out as early as you can, typically on turn 4, because it takes 4 mana to cast it, if you get a couple of more land drops after it's hit the board, you get to put +1/+1 counters on it, which makes it bigger. The flavor text for this card is, on occasion, Felidars leave meaty gifts outside the tents of explorers they consider worthy. Felidars are Zendikar's version of cats, felines, I guess. This right here is a common wild card. You sometimes get wild cards in packs, or you earn them. This is how you earn them: as you open packs. This bar fills up as you open packs, and when you open it, it will give you a wild card. Typically, you earn uncommon wild cards, and then here, right now, I'm working on getting a mythic rare wild card. Typically, you would see rare here, but every now and again, you'll see a mythic rare one. And what you can do is you can take a mythic rare or a rare wild card and spend it to get any particular wild card or any particular card of that rarity that you want. So if there's a particular mythic rare that you're chasing after, you can use a wild card to get it. Spoils of Adventure. 4 generic mana, a white and a blue, will get you an instant. This spell costs 1 generic mana less to cast for each creature in your party. You gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. In Zendikar Rising, there is a theme called Party, and it takes a lot from Dungeons and Dragons. Wizards of the Coast also owns and produces Dungeons and Dragons. So it was only a matter of time before they decided to do a little bit of a crossover. And in fact, next year, there's going to be a couple of Magic sets that are specifically tailored to Dungeons and Dragons. The flavor text here: survival itself is no small reward. Okay, then I'm going to come over here to Moss Pit Skeleton. Pay 1 black mana and 1 green mana to get a 2/2 creature plant skeleton. It has Kicker 3, which means that when you cast it, you can pay an extra 3 generic mana if you want. If Moss Pit Skeleton was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, if Moss Pit Skeleton is in your graveyard, you may put Moss Pit Skeleton on top of your library. So, essentially, if you pay that extra 3, you will get an extra 3 +1/+1 counters. And then in the future, so assuming that you cast this early or you cast this at some point in the future, And then after that, the creature dies, goes into your graveyard. The next time you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, you get to put this on top of your library if you want. All right, let's see our rare. And I got a mythic rare wild card. That's interesting. I wonder why. Can't imagine why. Like these randomly drop, but they also tend to give you these if you already have 4 copies of the rare that you would have gotten in the pack. It'll give you a wild card of that rarity instead. But I haven't collected many of these Zendikar Rising packs, so I really don't know why I got one. I guess this was random. So I guess I get to pick the one I want. All right, let's open the next one. All right. Seagate Banneret. 1 white mana to get a 1/2 creature core warrior. Core is a race on Zendikar. You can pay 4 and a white, and creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is an okay common. Good for draft, depending, but that's a very expensive ability for what you get. Pay 5 to get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a lot. Oh wait, let me see. Oh, and this did have flavor text. Sorry, I'll go back and do that. The Seagate Expeditionary House was founded after the. Try that again. The Seagate Expeditionary House was founded after the discovery of the Skyclave over Tazim. Now its banners fly over every corner of Zendikar. So as you can see, some of these are just give you little hints of the history of the world. And others are just jokes and sayings and such. Anti-cognition. For 1 and a blue, you get an instant counter target creature or planeswalker spell unless its controller pays 2. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, instead counter that spell, then scry 2. Scry means that you get to look at a certain amount of cards. In this case, it would be 2. You get to look at the top 2 cards of your library and then put them back either on top of your library or at the bottom of your library. And you can choose. So in this case, if you scry 2, you could put 1 on the bottom and 1 on the top. You could put both on the bottom. Or you could put both on the top in any order. It's basically a way to see what's coming and kind of control it a little bit. Scrying is a fun mechanic. I like it. But this is a counter spell, so essentially, if somebody goes to play something and you have this card, you can play it and basically say, no, you can't play that. And that explains a little bit of the flavor text, which is, I think not. Falcon, the Mind Sensor. As you can see, little joke there. I didn't say they were funny. I just said sometimes some of them are jokes. Hagra Constrictor. 2 and a black for a 0/0 creature snake. Hagra Constrictor enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has menace. So basically, this technically is a 0/0 creature, has no power, no toughness, but it comes in with 2 +1/+1 counters. So it's technically a 2/2. But it has another ability, which is quite nice. Any creatures that have +1/+1 have menace. And menace, again, is a creature that can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So right out of the gate, this creature is a 2/2 with menace. This doesn't have any flavor text, apparently. Disenchant. This card is actually quite old. It has been around since the beginning of the game, I believe. It's 1 and a white to get you an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. The flavor text is from legend it was forged, and to legend it returns. Canopy Baloth. 3 generic mana and a green to get you a 4/3 creature beast. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Canopy Baloth gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It's a pretty good ability. Again, landfall is any time a land enters the battlefield. You can almost see it calculating. Are we tasty enough? Are we a tasty enough treat to risk the jump? Samilla, Marasa Expeditionary House. The art is so interesting. They've really done a good job of changing up the art. There was a little while there where the art was getting a little generic, but recently they've done a good job in really varying the look. Like that. That's really nice. I really like that art. That art actually reminds me a little bit of the old school Magic art. Here, an uncommon Umara Mystic, a 1 generic blue and a red to get a 1/3 creature merfolk wizard with flying. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard spell, Umara Mystic gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It's a good card. We tolerate the North Hada. Let me try that again. We tolerate the North Hada Thieves' Den, but cutthroats who wander downriver earn a Skymanta ride out to sea. Apparently, Skymantas are flying manta rays. And then it seems here I got an uncommon wild card. I am just full of wild cards today. Let's see what my rare is. Inscription of Ruin. 2 generic and a black for a sorcery. Has kicker, 2 generic and 2 black. Choose 1. If this spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Target opponent. Oh, this has so much text it can scroll. I don't think I've seen that on Arena before. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Destroy target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less. This one doesn't have any flavor text because, well, that's a lot of text. Converted mana cost is, so this is 2 and a black, so the converted mana cost would be 3. That's all that means. And as it says, choose 1 if you've paid it as the normal cost. But if you paid the kicker, then you could do all 3 if you want. Or 3, or yes, 3. All 3. All right, let's go to the next pack. As you can see I'm building to the next one. Wow, we still have a bunch of firsts. Reclaim the Wastes for 1 green. Kicker 3. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, search your library for 2 basic land cards instead of 1. Cascade Seer, 3 generic and a blue, to get a 3/3 creature merfolk wizard. When Cascade Seer enters the battlefield, scry X, where X is the number of creatures in your party. Perhaps you can't see the path, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. Resolute Strike, for 1 white, get you an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's a warrior, you may attach an equipment you control to it. If you practice something often enough, it becomes part of you. That's why we train, and that's why we survive. Tasha, Grey Pelt Veteran. Ghastly Gloom Hunter. 1 generic and a black. To get a 1/1 creature zombie bat. It has flying and lifelink. Kicker, 3 generic and a black. If Ghastly Gloom Hunter was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So kicker, we familiar with it, flying, same as, but lifelink is new. Damage dealt by a creature, planeswalker, or spell with lifelink also causes its controller to gain that much life. Stinking Silent Death. Kazandu Nectar. That's quite the name. Kazandu Nectar Pot. 1 generic and a green to get you a 1/3 creature insect that has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. The scythe-like forelegs are crucial for its survival because it tastes really good and every inhabitant of Marasa knows it. Arhana, Kazandu Trapfinder. Yeah, I don't know if I'd eat that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I'd eat that. Oh, this is interesting. This is a flip card. I think these are called Modal flip cards, but essentially these are cards that have a card on the front and the back instead of the standard Magic back like this. This has so this is the front side is, let me see, yeah, Song Mad Treachery for 3 generic and 2 red to get you a sorcery. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. Sorceries can only be played on your turn during your main phase. Or instead of playing that spell, you could decide to play the other side, which is Song Mad Ruins, which is a land, and Song Mad Ruins enters the battlefield tapped, which means that you can't use it the first turn that you play it. And you get to add 1 red mana to your mana pool. Oh, and I forgot to mention Haste. Haste, a creature with haste can attack as soon as it comes into the battlefield. Most creatures have something known as Summoning Sickness. So the first time you play it, you can't attack with it the turn you play it. So creatures with haste, they can. If they come into the battlefield and they have haste, they can attack that turn. These are interesting cards. They've had flip cards before, but I may be wrong, but I think this is the first time that there are flip cards that you get to decide what side of the card you get to play when you play it. Typically, flip cards in the past, double-faced cards, you had to play the first side, and then something would happen which would make it flip during the game. Here you get to choose. They do have other double-sided cards and that sort of thing that you could choose, in the past, but a lot of different things there. But this is the first time they've done it in this fashion, and so far it seems fun. Concerted Defense. 1 blue mana to get you an instant. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1 generic plus an additional 1 generic for each creature in your party. And again, party is Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Oh, I forgot to read the flavor text over here. I'm not proud of the things I did, but all I could think about at the time was how to make that noise stop. The noise stop. Yavod's Seagate Expeditionary House. All right, let's see what the rare is. Oh, here's another double-faced. Valakut Awakening. 2 generic and a red to get you an instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library. Then draw that many cards plus 1. Or you can play the other side, which is a land, Valakut Stoneforge. Valakut Stoneforge enters the battlefield tapped, and it can get you a red mana. The way you can tell which is the front of the card is the front of the card has one arrow and the back of the card has two. Interesting. Okay, next pack. Let's see if we get any doubles. Wow, no doubles still. Oh, I got myself my uncommon. Kazandu Stomper. 5 generic mana and a green to get you a 6/5 creature beast. He's a biggie. With trample. When Kazandu Stomper enters the battlefield, return up to 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. Trample is if this creature attacks and it's blocked. If the creature that blocks it is smaller than it, any excess damage rolls over into the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So this is a 6/5. If it attacks and a 1/1 blocks it, then the 1/1 will suck up 1 of that damage, but the other 5 of that 6 damage will go to the player or planeswalker that it was attacking. Elves revere cycles of renewal, but they prefer cycles that don't involve their homes getting smashed. Jiraga Visionary. 3 generic and a green to get you a 3/2 creature elf wizard. When Jiraga Visionary enters the battlefield, draw a card. If you only follow where the path leads, you merely go where others have gone before you. Field Research. 2 generic and a blue, get you a sorcery. Kicker, 2 generic and a blue, draw 2 cards. If this spell was kicked, draw 3 cards instead. In the field, speed reading is a survival skill. Cleric of the Chill Depths. 1 generic and a blue to get you a 1/3 creature merfolk cleric. Whenever Cleric of Chill Depths blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Before my people turned to false gods, we built a glittering city beneath the northern sea ice. The magic of ancient Benthedrix lives in me. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go back and try to pronounce that correctly in the first go. Just not going to happen. This is a common wild card. Cleric of Life's Bond. A white and a black to get you a 2/2 creature vampire cleric. Whenever another cleric enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Cleric of Life's Bond. No gods, only each other. Interesting. Roiling Regrowth. 2 generic and a green to get you an instant. Sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And note, you can sacrifice 1 of the lands you used to cast this spell. Roots find their way through rock, and every mountain... Roots find their way through rock, and even mountains must give way to new growth. Nissa Ravane. That is Nissa right there on the packs. She's a planeswalker. Oh, what's my thing? Oh, well, I finally got my double, and it was a rare. That'll burst your bubble a little bit there. Because, I wanted another rare. Like, this is an okay card, pretty good card, but I wanted a different card. But, what are you going to do? All right. Okay, we've got some doubles here, so I'm not going to go over the doubles. 1 double so far. Namana Skitter Sneak. Inordinate Rage. 1 generic and a red. To get you an instant, target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. Scry 1. In my years wandering this land, I've seen a veritable menagerie of fantastic creatures, but one that has eluded me thus far is the fabled easygoing Minotaur. Expedition Wizard. I like this. This is also art that I really like. It reminds me of some early magic art, because sometimes early magic art was kind of funny and kind of cheeky, and so is this. Just the creature's face. I love it. I find it hilarious. Broken Wings. 2 generic and a green to get you an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Getting airborne with a kite sail is easy. It's everything afterward that takes focus, skill, and luck. Expedition Champion. 2 generic and a red to get you a 2/3 creature human warrior. Expedition Champion gets +2/+0 as long as you control another warrior. Warriors are combat specialists who bring their deadly skills to bear against the many foes that adventurers face in the course of their journeys. Scale the Heights. 2 generic and a green to get you a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. You gain 2 life. You may play an additional land this turn. Draw a card. Ever Onward, Ever Skyward. Zendikar has this interesting thing to it. It's almost like Pandora in a way, in that it has floating rocks. Sometimes they're just floating monuments and things that just kind of hang in the air. I find it very interesting. In fact, there's lands in all of the Zendikars. They're called the Cup Islands because they look like just giant bowls. Lull Mage's Familiar. 1 green and a blue to get you a 2/4 creature beast. You can tap it to add a green or a blue to your mana pool. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, you gain 2 life. They store energy in special gastric organs, but I guess you'd probably rather have me clear the path than ramble about guts. Fahar, Expedition Wizard. This is another, I really like this art. This is very different than the other art we're seeing on this page. There's this cuteness to the creature. It's almost like a art made for a children's book, but yet there's a polished nature to it. Really nice. Gabor Sixai is the artist. Really good. Another uncommon wild card, and let's see what the rare is. Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats. 4 generic mana, black and a red, to get you a 4/4 legendary creature, vampire rogue. I'm going to assume that's rogue. Flying, Death Touch, and Haste. This spell costs 1 generic mana less to cast for each creature in your party. Other creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. This is not counting the amount of mana it costs to cast him. This is a good card. Now, you can set this up in a constructed deck that if you have a cleric, a rogue, a warrior, and a wizard, then he only costs a black and a red, which is a steal for this. Now, Death Touch means that if this creature attacks and is blocked by a creature, no matter the size of the creature could be 10 times bigger than him, it still would kill that creature. He also has Flying and Haste, which we talked about. All right. And our last pack. Let's see what we've got. And, oh, geez, I still need one more to get that. Do I get it? Wow, no doubles in this one. Marasa Brute, 2 generic and a green. To get you a 3/3 creature troll warrior. I think this is our first vanilla creature. That's what this is known as a vanilla creature. It has no abilities or anything, so. Some adventuring parties are made up of old friends, their common bonds bolstering them in the face of peril. Other parties simply hire the biggest, meanest muscle they can find. Blood Beckoning. 1 black to get you a sorcery that has Kicker 3. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If the spell was kicked, instead return 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Nissa's Zendikon. 3 generic and a green to get you an enchantment aura. This means that it is an enchantment, but it needs to be attached to another type of permanent. There are enchantments that can sit on the battlefield by themselves, but auras are enchantments that need to be attached to another permanent. This one is a land, Enchant Land. Enchanted Land is a 4/4 elemental creature with reach and haste. It's still a land. When Enchanted Land dies, return that card to its owner's hand. This is actually not bad because it turns a land into a creature, pretty big creature, that has reach and haste, which are really good abilities. And then when that dies, so if it blocks a big creature or it gets destroyed in some way, instead of putting it in the graveyard, it goes back to your hand. Now this would go to your graveyard, but that's really good. You get it back, and then you can lay down the land again so you don't lose the land for an extended period of time. It's good. Deliberate. 1 and a blue to get you an instant. Scry 2, then draw a card. This isn't as good as other cards that have similar abilities, but in draft, this is pretty good. Scry 2, you look at the top 2 cards of your library. You either put them on the top or the bottom or a little of both. And then you get to draw a card, so you essentially get to set up your draw. I can't see all that the future holds, but I can keep us 1 step ahead of death. Scorch Rider. 3 generic and a red to get you a 4/3 creature, human warrior. It has Kicker 1 and a red. When Scorch Rider enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, it gains haste until end of turn. And again, haste means that they can attack the turn it comes in. Lava flows where it pleases. I'm just happy to be along for the ride. Spikefield Hazard. It's 1 red for an instant. Spikefield Hazard deals 1 damage to any target. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. I think that's the first time we've seen exile. Exile means that the creature does not go into the graveyard. It's exiled. It's essentially removed from the game. There are some cards that can bring exiled cards back, but not many. Stop screaming. You only bring down more spikes. Raft Slug Eater, Goblin Shortcutter. And then the other side of this card is Spikefield Cave, which is a land. It comes into play tapped, and you can tap it to add a red mana. Demon's Disciple. 2 and a black to get you a 3/1 creature, human cleric. When Demon's Disciple enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Tabarax's cultists are the latest in a long history of beings who have desired to see Zendikar torn to pieces. Yeah, Zendikar's had some troubles over the years. All right, last rare. Big money, no whammies, no whammies. Not bad. Hagra Mauling. 2 generic and 2 black to get you an instant. This spell costs 1 generic less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands. Destroy target creature. Or you can play the other side, Hagra Brood Pit. It enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add 1 black mana. All right, well, those are all the cards. Those are all the cards we have today. I hope you enjoyed this little jaunt through this pack of cards that I got. Um, I will be back doing regular help desk videos. I have some scripts that I'm putting together, and I have a welcome back video coming. But I wanted to get something up on the channel to let everybody know that I'm here, and I'm actually doing some other stuff on another channel, and more information on that will be coming out. And I have something that will be starting up in a couple of months that I think fans of this channel may be very interested in. It's going to be about ASMR, but it's not going to have ASMR. So it'll be very interesting. Oh, I mentioned those cup lands. You can see them in the background here. They are right floating in the air. Those floating things. Anyway, so thank you again for joining. Make sure if you liked what you heard today, you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with a friend. But thank you all for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.